Okay, and here we go. Yeah, we're up and running. All right, Episode 2 of a Childlike podcast, and we're actually here. I honestly wasn't sure if I'd do another one, but the last one went pretty well. Um, all right, so hoping to be a little more together this time. Let me see what we're talking about this week. I really should get better at keeping notes. Um, well, while I'm looking at what else came out, we'll go ahead and start talking about X-Men because that's going to be the main topic for the next um, for the duration of this first season. Um, so they did a very short version of Inferno for Episode 3, which I I was expecting that to happen, but I was not expecting it to be one episode or for it to be Episode 3. They really just had at it. I'm not mad about it though. I think that I think it's cool to do kind of a speed run of some stuff that the original series couldn't quite get to. Um, it was of course the animation was brilliant, just like last time. As I'm sure it will be for the duration of the series. Um, Standout for me was um, Queen versus Magneto. That was just it was it was brilliant. Just the way that it was so frenetic, so visceral and fast, and just but it didn't feel weightless, you know. Um, and it was a really cool way to showcase both of their powers and the limitations of Magneto's powers versus straight up telepathy or telekinesis rather. Um, that was just it was cool. It was really cool, and having it be where it was, the setting of it was fitting, to say the least. Um, I also another part that stood out to me, which I've seen lots of people talking about, was Bishop when they were in quote unquote hell, and Cyclops blasted him to give him the charge, and then he just let it go. That was sick. As was the rest of the episode, but that scene in particular, that was the I guess you'd say the belly up of this episode. I think personally, although this one had a couple moments like that, and it really seems like every character is gonna get a good showcase scene. Um, like the first episode was really Cyclops and Storm. Like they got their dues, and Storm got some in the second episode too. But and then Magneto in the second episode, he stole it. I mean, that was my favorite scene of the series so far, and honestly, one of my favorite scenes in any X-Men thing ever was Magneto and his monologue to the UN, um, both before and after the Friends of Humanity attacked. But then in this episode, some more Magneto, but really Madeline and Bishop and Jean too, I guess, were the ones who really got to shine. Sinister was creepy as hell as always. I always liked the kind of echoey effect that they have on his voice. That I mean, they had that in the original too, and they brought it back, and I really enjoy it. That's just how I imagine Sinister sounding. Granted, a lot of that is probably because I was introduced to Sinister through the original series, but still. Um, Morph was a standout in this one just because they're a menace, as Morph always was. But just fucking with Gambit over Rogue and Magneto, that was fun. And just all the demon things coming through, all the hellish um hallucinations that everybody was seeing. That was great. I mean, that was exactly what it should have been as an adaptation of Inferno. Which, if you've never read Inferno, it's a little different because in the comics it's uh, basically limbo bleeding into the real world and causing things to come to life. Like the one that always sticks out to me is the hot dog stands from the Spider-Man books, because that was one of those things where every mainline book set in New York at the time had a Inferno issue, and I remember the Spider-Man one because that was the at the time Todd McFarlane was drawing it and had it's Todd McFarlane. He draws weird monstery things like that all the time, and he's good at it. So he made that. He really worked with that. Um, there was one of them was Mary Jane fighting off gold lynx that came to life trying to eat people. Um, at a modeling shoot, I think. Anyway, but yeah, that was really well done. The beast scene in the elevator where the elevator opens and the weird fat baby looking thing, the face is just there in the door, and he's I think one of us has the wrong floor. That just makes me giggle every time. Um, so that's a lot of fun. That's good. It was a good episode overall. Good episode. And Forge showed up at the end, and I'm a huge fan of Forge, so I was happy about that too. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, it doesn't hit as hard as those first two, for me personally, but I think that that's also just those first two were laying the groundwork, setting the stage, and then we're moving forward with the rest of it. Really getting into everything. I think that uh, I think that if they maintain this momentum, that this is going to be an all timer. Personally, um, for me, it already is. I mean, it's one of my favorite all time X Men media. Period. Just those first two episodes. I mean, if they could have just given me those, and I would have been happy. But I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with everything else and what other stories they adapt. It's looking like they're gonna do Life Death. Um, Probably some approximation of what was that? Sorry. Anyway, probably some version of I don't know. I'm trying to think of what they did in the original series that they would do in this one, or what they haven't done in the original series that they could do in this one. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I think it would be really interesting if they did some of the Krakoa stuff, like the more modern books in that '90s setting. I think that could be interesting because I mean I touched on it last week, but a lot of the '90s series was just the Claremont run, which at the time, if I'm not mistaken, that was still running or it had just ended. Um, if it wasn't. So I mean, they were just taking the last 20 years of X Men stories, which is really when the X Men picked up anyway. Um, so honestly, that was really all you had to tell was Claremont stuff. But it'd be interesting to see some of the maybe some of the Hickman or the Grant Morrison stuff being adapted in with a '90s coat of paint on it. I think that would be cool, but I guess we'll see where that goes. But yeah, it's good so far. It's great. I'm really happy with everything that they're doing. I'm hoping that it continues to be as good. So fingers crossed. Which I don't have any doubts that it will be, but you never know. Um, okay, so Godzilla Kong came out. I haven't seen it, but I did see a clip of Godzilla suplexing Kong, so now I have to see it. And that's about all I'll say on that. Um, oh, next issue of. I did read that next issue of Ultimate Spider Man. That was fantastic. Seeing this adult version of Peter and Harry interact. That's just fun. I'm always happy to see those two have a good friendship. Even though this is the first time they've met in this universe, I'm already seeing where it's going, and I think I'm gonna enjoy it. I really like the dynamic of Peter and May knowing that Peter is Spider Man and Richard and Mary Jane not knowing. I think that's a really funny dynamic. Um, it's it's good. It's really good. Obviously, the art is um still top notch. It's still Marco Cicchetto. Dude never misses. I touched on that also last week. Um, and the I'm really interested to see where the story goes from here too, because it's really focusing on Kingpin, which is, I mean, that's what the original Ultimate Spider-Man did, especially in the early part of the run. Kingpin was always kind of a his shadow loomed over the whole run, but especially those early issues. Um, so it looks like they're doing more of that. I think that's the only book I read this week. Oh no, I read Nightwing 112. Man, that was a great issue. That was one of the single best issues of any of the Bat books that I've read in a while. Um, just Dick Grayson is one of my all-time favorite comic book characters, and this book really cemented why. And of course, it's a continuation from the previous book, or the previous issue rather, 111. But it's a good story, and it involves a child and Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson trying to help this child who has been orphaned, and obviously that's something that both of them take very personally, and there's a lot of exploration with that, and how those two characters approach uh that same scenario differently. And there's a lot of just Bruce talking about Dick and how, the kind of man that he is, the kind of hero that he is, and how proud he is. And that's one of my favorite things about their dynamic is the acknowledgement of Dick as Bruce's greatest victory. And it's one of the things I really enjoyed with the Dawn of DC initiative, how Dick is really being pushed to the forefront, and I'm really enjoying that. But yeah, it was a really good issue. There was some really good stuff with the Titans, especially Garfield, Beast Boy, with everything that just happened with Beast World. And honestly, there was a little bit of some X Men in there too. Just the messaging, which isn't, there's no surprise there. It's Teen Titans. They've always kind of been the parallels to the X Men in the Marvel universe, or at least I've always thought so. They've had a lot of the same themes and ideas, and even a lot of the same creative teams bounce back and forth between them. So it makes sense. I can't remember what else I read. I read the next issue of Godzilla Kong. um, Justice League. It was just as crazy as it's always been. Actually, no, no, I didn't. I'm thinking of the episode I talked about, or the issue I talked about last week. Never mind. Never mind. Looking forward to Ultimate X Men, Ultimate Black Panther again this month. Those are the one. Those three. Those new Ultimate books are the ones I'm looking forward to the most every month. I think right now. Um, again, touched on it last week, but I'm just really looking forward to it. The art in both of them is great. The X Men one especially is very different. Um, it's a very unique take on um, just on that mythos of mutants in general, and it's very like thus far it's really not X Men ish at all. But as long as that as long as that kind of makes way for the X Men stuff to come in later, is like this is the groundwork being set. If they build on the X Men mythos from where they're starting, I'm really intrigued to see what they do with it. Because it's very manga-ish right now, which makes sense. It's written and drawn by Peach Momoko, who is, if you don't know, a Japanese artist who does a lot of work with Marvel. Um, she's very, very good, very good. Uh, but what she's doing with this book, it's very centered on armor, which I'm trying to remember what I said about it last week, and I can't. So what I'm gonna do is move on. And we'll come back to it when the next issue comes out. Um, I've been since we're talking about X Men, I may as well keep it up. I started watching X Men Evolution again from the beginning, and I never, when I was a kid, I had a VHS of like the first 3 episodes or whatever, and wore that out because it was X Men and I was a kid and that was my thing. But um, I've been watching it consistently on Disney Plus, and I think in the last 2 episodes of season one, man, this show it's great. Like it's really good, and I always knew it was significant because it was like that's where X-23 comes from. That's I mean, it's not an insignificant uh thing, but I never knew how what's the word I'm looking for? How how much they really got into with this show. And again, I'm only in the first season. From what I hear, it only gets better. So I'm really excited for that. Uh, Scott is great in this, who historically, especially in the last 20-ish years or so, has had a really not great representation, which, Scott Summers is a character who is um, complicated to say the least. But his characterization in the show is really really good. Like it's very accurate to how Scott's always been portrayed. If you were to make him a teenager, which in the original run, the Lee and Kirby run, he was. They all were, which is something that I think people forget about a lot. The X Men originally started as a team of teenage superheroes. Um, and then that kind of just stopped by the time Giant Size came out, because most of those characters were adults or young adults at the least. Um, and then they did that. They brought that back in Ultimate X Men, the original Ultimate run, which it's a shame that that wasn't a better run. I saw somebody recently say that that was a really weird series because it was like you'd have like 15 or so issues of just it being anywhere between just odd and actually bad, which I haven't read all of Ultimate X Men, But what I have read, eh, it's eh, you know, it's fine. Sometimes it is actually just bad. Um, and then you have like just one or two issues where it's like some of the best X Men comics ever. Like I don't remember what the issue numbers are, but um, the issue I think it's one or two issues where it's about this kid whose power is essentially just killing people around him. Like that's his power. That's his mutation. People around him just die. It's some kind of I can't remember if it's like a plague or if he explodes and sets shit on fire or what. I can't remember, but um, the only person who could get close to him was Wolverine, and he and someone else is sent to help this kid, but they know that the only way to deal with him is for him to die. That's the only way that he's gonna. I mean, there is no way forward for this kid, and if he stays alive, that's like that is bad news for mutants on the whole, because what everybody is afraid of mutants being, these just destructive beings. This kid literally is that. Um, like he is literally exactly what everyone is afraid of. So Logan knows this. Everybody, Charles knows this, and Logan's the only one who is capable of doing something about it. One, because of his healing factor, he's the only one who can get close to this kid. Two, because it's Logan. Um, and he's capable of those kinds of things, physically and mentally. Um, and I haven't read it in a while, but I remember like this kid tries his first beer. Um, Logan gives him a beer, which of course he does, and it's this kid's first beer ever, and unfortunately his last, because it's like um in the final panel or whatever, it's just like they're sitting in a cave somewhere, and it's just a shot of the mouth of the cave, and I think that there's like a onomatopoeia sound of like the claws or whatever. Maybe not. I can't remember. And then it's just Logan walking out of the cave by himself. And it's that, and then you go straight to Logan watching Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver having sex, which you know that's just what Ultimate X-Men was. Um, and it's really funny in hindsight because most of the Ultimate books not great, other than Ultimate Spider-Man. Like that's pretty much it. Like there were some shining spots. Like that first volume of Ultimates was good. Odd, really, really weird, and edgy 2000s. But it was good. It was well written, and the art was fantastic. Um, but besides that, it was really hit or miss, the Ultimate Universe back in the day. I mean, I haven't read a whole lot of the later stuff. Like after Ultimatum, really the only thing I've read is Spider-Man, and that's basically it. I hear Ultimate X-Men after Ultimatum was good. Um, but again, I haven't read it. I know that's where Jimmy Hudson comes from. Um, so I'll read it eventually. I've heard good things. Uh, and then I mean, after that, it's I don't know what happens. I don't really know what happens with the Ultimate Universe, because with Ultimatum, I mean that was like bad. Ultimatum was everything that was wrong with the Ultimate Universe, and it just put on display and dialed up to 11. Yeah, everybody died for no reason. Like they just killed people just to do it. just for shock value. And that was what Ultimate eventually was boiled down to, because that was what sold, or what they thought sold. Um, but critically, both, with fans and even in house at Marvel, it wasn't popular, and that's why a few years later it got shit canned because it wasn't selling anymore. It was dead. It was a dead imprint. So that's why it eventually got folded into the main 616 after Secret Wars. And the the biggest obviously the biggest lasting impact from the Ultimate Universe will always be, well, maybe not all, no, yeah, always, will always be Miles Morales, because Miles is the only thing left from the Ultimate Universe that still has any real cultural importance. Now, I'm not saying that everything else in the Ultimate Universe was bad or unimportant. Not at all, because there's still stuff, to this day. Obviously, the Ultimates, especially, heavily influenced the MCU. Um, Ultimate Spider-Man pretty heavily influenced the Sam Raimi movies, Spider-Man movies. Um, and yeah, the same can be said for the Amazing Spider-Man movies. But in terms of cultural impact and staying power, I would say that really the biggest thing to come from the Ultimate Universe was Miles Morales. And people who know me know how big a fan I am of that character. But I'd like to think that that's not bias speaking when I say that. Feel free to disagree. That's actually something I wouldn't be against discussing in the comments if anybody actually watches this. Um, but anyway, let's see what else. Oh, it was pointed out to me last week that of all the trailers that I talked about, the one that I was easily the most excited by, Marvel, was it 1943? Yeah, that looks fantastic. If the gameplay of that is even remotely, um, or if the trailer we saw is remotely indicative of the quality of the overall game, including gameplay, that looks like it could be an all timer as well. I mean, it literally, taking just screenshots of that trailer, especially of what was his name, of Black Panther, Kari Payton's Black Panther. It just looks like Kari Payton dressed up as Black Panther. Like, it just looks like him in cosplay, or like live action. It's insane. Um, I'm a big. I didn't used to be a big graphics guy. I'm a big graphics guy now, especially when it comes to like facial animations and textures, or water. Like water, good water effects really just, they I freeze just staring at it. But yeah, that looks fantastic. I mean, that's a really interesting, creative idea for a video game. I really like the idea of having some focus on a member of the Howling Commandos and of the Dora Milaje. Um, I also really like the character design. Like, the art design in this game looks really cool, because it's like Captain America, especially, looks like it's like what the first Avenger outfit, like the movie, like the spirit of what that was going for, but like dialing it back a little bit and leaning more into the realism of it, while still maintaining the silhouette of a comic costume. If that any of that makes any sense at all. Like, it's literally just a Star Spangled bomber suit. Like, that's what it looks like, with the cowl helmet on. I'm here for that. That looks sick. It actually reminds me a lot of, to bring it back to the Ultimates, it looks a lot like the World War II Ultimate Captain America, which I always really liked that look. Um, but the colors on it, the textures, the layout of the design, like the star and the stripes on the abdomen. I just really like the I don't know the word. I guess layout. Yeah, I guess layout is the term. Just where it all sits on the body. It just looks cool to me. It actually gives me, and this is going to be a bit of a reach. It makes me think of the what was it? I can't remember the name of it, but it was a an armor set in Assassin's Creed Unity where it's all leather, and I think it's like a thieves or something like that. But it's a leather coat, and that it kind of gives me that vibe because if you make that coat blue, like the default blue, it's that same shade and texture as Captain America had, and that's a really roundabout way of trying to describe that. And only people who played that game will know what the hell I'm even talking about. But that's what it made me think of. Like the second I saw it, um, people who know me will be like, "Yeah, of course you did." If they listen to this, and then Black Panther is like that looks like a. I said this to a friend of mine, but that design looks like a perfect uh, combination of the '90s, early 2000s Marvel Knights Black Panther with the gold armaments and the cape, and the MCU Black Panther. And those are two of my favorite looks for Black Panther. And then you get, you combine them, and that's pretty much perfect. That's perfect Black Panther for me. It's royal looking. The design of the helmet, the mask is just it's cat like, but not too cat like. But it's like you can tell what it's supposed to be. It looks organic, and I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, it looks good. I really like the voice performances. The guy playing Captain America actually sounds like a he sounds like a soldier, like a um. Jesus, I shall be right back. Okay, and we're back. Um, yeah, this one's gonna have to be a little quicker than last week. Well, it's only got 20 more minutes before I get to the length of the last episode, so maybe not. Um, yeah, I was hoping this week would be a little less rambly. That has not been the case thus far, but it's fine. Um, yeah, I don't have as much to talk about this week as I thought I would. I'm still working on trying to get segments going. I have a few ideas of things that I can do here, things that I'm hoping to do with at least one other person. Um, should I be able to? Because they're like ranking type things. Um, like you know, like costumes for different characters or different movies, talking about movies. I'd like to get into some of that stuff on here, branch out a little bit from where we're at right now. Because right now, I guess I'm mostly just talking about comics and cartoons and trailers and such, which, I mean, that's me. That's generally what I talk about on a daily basis anyway. But I would like to expand the topics of discussions a little bit. Um, just not quite there yet. I think. Oh Jesus, this is a long night. Sorry, guys. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna really start. Uh, hopefully next week I'll have segments a little more mapped out than the last two episodes, just because that first one was the first one was kind of just off the cuff. And this week it's been a crazy ass week. I haven't really had time to dedicate to that at all. And the time I did have, I dedicated to other things. So, but like I said, I've got some ideas. Hopefully, I can do something with those. And next week things will be a little more uniform. Not not scripted, but just a little less off the cuff, I guess. Um, but yeah, so I guess we'll see. Um, I saw earlier today that the trailer for um, Joker 2 is supposed to be dropping on the 9th, I think. So that'll be, I think that'll be just the next episode will be dropping, if not on that day, then around then. So, um, I guess we'll talk about that there. I'm really excited for that movie. Because I really enjoyed the first one, and as far as I can tell, this is the same creative team, like same director, same cast, and everything. And it sounds, from what I've seen, it sounds like it's just gonna be just throwing shit at the wall, which I'm here for personally. I'm really, as I've gotten older, I've really been intrigued by those things that just kind of do stuff, if that makes any sense. Like just doing whatever and seeing if it works. I'm really into that. And I keep forgetting that this movie's coming out. Like I keep forgetting that it's a thing that's coming. And so when I'm reminded of it, I get excited for it all over again. So that's kind of cool. It's a gift that keeps giving in that way. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be uh, that'll be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. Um, and then I think that's it. It was really slow this week. I don't really know what else to talk about. I really got to get those segments put together. um, oh, Bad Batch. I did talk about that last week, didn't I? This past episode of Bad Batch was cool. It was a good episode. I mean, it was a little fillery. Ventress was in it, so that was cool. I've always liked Ventress. Although this time it was a little weird because with her haircut and the way that the art style is, somehow kind of made her look like my aunt. If you know, you know. Most of you won't, and it's better that way. Trust me. Um, so that was distracting, mildly. But we got to see more of Crosshair and Omega interacting, and we got to a little more catharsis between Crosshair and Hunter, which that's kind of what I've been looking forward to the most this season is just Crosshair integrating back into the team, back into the group. That's that's really what I'm here for this season. So we're getting a lot of that, and I'm happy about it. Um, oh, another bit of news that I can't remember. I don't think was made public last week. If it was, I don't think I mentioned it. Um, Venom 3 has a title for now. I'm sure it'll change. Um, The Last Dance. So that'll be interesting. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be multiversal, because of course it is. Um, so that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that, especially if it is a multiverse type thing. You know, if it's like a multiversal symbiote hive mind, that could be something really fun to play with. Like, man, that's kind of what they did with No Way Home. That's why Eddie and Venom got transported into the 616, not 616, but that's what they call it. So if they do more with that, that'll be a lot of fun. I think potentially it could be. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I want multiverse from Venom. I mean, I'm not one who's tired of the multiverse stuff yet, just because that's kind of where I've always wanted to be when it comes to these things. Like, I'm a big multiverse guy. I always have been. So seeing more of it is just cool to me. But with Venom, and honestly, as goofy as Venom is, you know, they can make it work. I'm here for it if they do. I'm not sure that that's exactly what I want to see from this Venom yet. You know, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. At this point, I don't think we really know anything about it, do we? Um, other than the title. Hold on. Yeah, I mean it's supposed to be coming out this year. Which how crazy is that? Three of those Sony verse movies coming out in 1 year. I mean, we already got Madam Web, and then next up is Craven. Which when is that supposed to come out? I can't believe that got a trailer before. That got the trailer before Madam Web did. Like I didn't even know Madam Web was a thing until the trailer. Somehow, me of all people had no idea. Um, which that that came out like oh boy, hold up. I'll be right back. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap this one up fairly quickly. I'm kind of doing this one on my own. I don't have anybody making run interference. So we'll have a guest here the last 10 or so minutes of the show. You might not even be able to hear him. He's being pretty quiet right now. But anyway, yeah, Craven the Hunter got the trailer before we got a trailer for Madam Web. I knew about Craven, had no idea about Madam Web. Madam Web came out before Craven the Hunter by months, almost as many months I think um as the trailers were spaced between each other, if I'm not mistaken. Which is just honestly, it's perfect for for this universe and how it's being handled. Um, okay, so that's coming out in August. Huh? That's funny. That's really funny to me. Like this is the R-rated one, not not Let There Be Carnage, but Craven. Even Morbius could have worked as a R-rated movie, but it's Craven. That's R-rated. That's just funny. It's just funny. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I still haven't seen Madam Web, but I want to. I think it's gonna be hilarious, and I think Craven's gonna be hilarious too. Um, I honestly I love these movies. Not because they're good, because they're not. Although I make a case for the Venom ones. They're just funny. But anyway, yeah, so that's coming out, and then Venom 3 in October right now, supposedly. I'm not sure if they've even started shooting for that yet. Um, but either way. Oh, speaking of shooting, uh, Pedro Pascal has reportedly finished shooting on The Last of Us season 2. So, ouch. If you know, you know, you know. And then uh oh, the Punisher from Daredevil Born Again. There was some more photos of John Bernthal as Frank Castle, so that's cool. Looking forward to that. He looks exactly like he did in his show, which I'm fine with. But looking forward to seeing him come back. Um, and yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, Joker. Suicide Squad. I haven't unlocked him yet. I haven't really gotten a chance to play much. I've been hell diving, so I got to do an episode on just on Suicide Squad. I'll have to write something for that because I have a lot of thoughts on that game, and a lot of people disagree with me. So I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna look into doing that. Just doing an episode just on that show or on that game rather. So we'll see how that goes. Um, that probably won't be an episode of the podcast. It'll probably be a video of its own, which that's going to be a whole other thing. So I wouldn't expect it anytime real soon, but we'll see. Just whenever I can manage it. Um, but with that last note, I'll just say that hopefully next week I'll have a little more structure to this, and I won't be rambling as much because it's pretty much all I did this time and last time. And hopefully I won't have to keep pausing it because I've paused. You probably won't be able to tell in the actual episode, but I've actually paused it like 3 times to go handle things. Um, things being this guest that I have here that is being really quiet, thankfully. Um, and then um, hopefully I'll try to get somebody to do the next episode of this thing with, and we'll see how that goes if we can. So yeah. Um, yeah. So with all that said, uh, I bid you all adieu. Thanks for listening. If you did, um, if you didn't, then I'm not talking to you because you're not here to listen. Uh, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully, maybe. I probably will. Hopefully, it'll be better than this one. This one felt like I talked a whole lot about nothing at all. Um, which is characteristic, I suppose. I'm doing it again. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks. So long.